If you like to spend time shopping online, you've probably come across these notifications telling you about other customers who had bought something while you were shopping. Just a few years ago, you never saw these. Now it seems like they're all over the place. While the technique is fairly new, it uses a psychology theory that's been studied for well over 100 years. In this video, we're going to be talking about the theory of social proof, why it works, how to use it in your own interfaces, and some of the emerging research that says some of these techniques might not work as well as they used to. I'm Josh Wayne with Design Smarts, and this is another episode of Psychology Sundays. So what is social proof? Basically, the theory of social proof states that when we're unsure of how to behave in a situation, we'll often look at what others are doing and behave in the same way. Because at our core, we humans are social creatures, and a long time ago, our ancestors figured out that we'll make fewer mistakes doing the same thing as everyone else over doing something different. It's one of the reasons why going against the flow is uncomfortable in the large majority of people. It's just encoded in our DNA. So psychologists and behavioral scientists have noticed this behavior and have studied the phenomenon in its many different ways. One of the earliest studies was conducted way back in 1935 with participants guessing how much a point of light moved in a pitch black room, to studies showing how adding a laugh track will make people laugh longer and more often, especially when something isn't funny. In 1984, researcher Robert Cialdini gathered up many of these studies and coined the term social proof in his now famous book, Influence. And with that book, social proof has become a huge part of modern day marketing and design practice. And now it's pretty much impossible to read about marketing without social proof getting mentioned. Because of that, you can see social proof used in many different ways in modern interfaces. We see online stores showing hundreds of happy customer testimonials, hotel booking websites enticing you to book a room because there's only 2 rooms left, and every SaaS company out there showing the logos of big companies that use their product. And because it's such a powerful tool, we're seeing new tools and techniques created all the time. A great example is the customers who recently bought pop-up mentioned at the beginning of the video. And before you go and start implementing every social proof technique out there, you should know that some of the techniques that got people results in the past might not get you the same positive results, and in some situations might actually get you negative results. There's an article published in behavioralscientist.org called "Consumers Are Becoming Wise to Your Nudge," where author Simon Shaw writes about a study where his company Trinity McQueen tested the only 2 rooms left UI pattern commonly used in hotel booking websites. They did the research with about 2,000 people in the UK, and they found that this technique that used to be a huge boost in conversions only a few years ago is now not only dismissed by some people as a marketing ploy, but in a follow-up question, 1/3, about 34%, expressed a negative emotional reaction to these messages, choosing words like contempt and disgust from a pre-coded list. So how do we use social proof in our interfaces in a way that's effective? Well, when I looked at the studies of social proof, I noticed 3 things emerging as a trend that makes social proof effective. Good social proof is honest, believable, and relatable. So let's talk about those. So it should go without saying, but your social proof has to be honest. Your product or service has to do what it claims to do, and you have to actually help your customers. So don't be writing fake testimonials or making bold claims that don't actually work. But if you do decide to exploit people for money, you could still use social proof by using your clout as a celebrity and picking an audience that's extremely gullible. So you might be designing a hotel booking app, and you might have a hotel with only 2 rooms left, but as we saw in the UK study, users might dismiss that as a dishonest marketing ploy simply because every other hotel booking site claims the exact same thing. So a real-world example from my life, I used to be a hardcore night owl, a habit that I'm trying to break, but I was up one night on a small online web store and I noticed the notifications of people who bought popping up every 5 seconds. I mean, it just made it look like things were flying off the shelves. Now, if this was noon on a Saturday, I might have believed it. But this was 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, and there's no way Jennifer from Texas and Dave from Michigan are real people that bought just seconds ago. I figured out that the notification pattern was and I stopped believing them on every other site that I saw them on. Now, you could be using one of the honest versions of this tool, and there are honest ones out there, but there's too many people using it dishonestly, and the whole thing is dismissed by a growing number of users. Remember how I mentioned a research study on laugh tracks? Well, an interesting variation they did during that study was to test how self-identity impacts the effects of laugh tracks. So this study was done back in 2005 at a university in Australia. They did a variation of this test where they first told students that people in the laugh track were other students. In another variation, they told students the laugh track was from a political party that was very unpopular with university students at the time. In their experiments, they found students laughed the most when they believed that the laugh track was with other students compared to when students believed it was by other people whose opinions they didn't agree with. So if you're going to be using customer testimonials, for example, make sure that they're neutral, or if you want them to be even more effective, make sure that they're by customers that your audience identifies with. And that's all I have on social proof. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on social proof and if you think there's only 2 rooms left in that hotel. Thanks for watching.